Let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered why some women just linger in a man's mind, while others fade away like a forgotten conversation? Addiction isn't just about chemistry. It's not about looks alone. It's about something deeper. Something that taps into a man's emotions, his drive, and his identity. So today, I want to share 10 powerful reasons why a man can become emotionally addicted. Not in a toxic way, but in that soul-stirring, can't get enough kind of way. She makes him feel like a man in the trust sense, not by putting him on a pedestal, but by showing him that she values his presence without needing to depend on him. She isn't seeking validation or approval, and that's exactly what captures his attention. When she walks in his life, he doesn't feel like he has to save her or fix her, but he naturally wants to rise, protect, and provide. Her independence challenges him, but her warmth invites him in. Bay has been. That combination creates a dynamic that makes him feel more like himself, more grounded, and more masculine, without ever demanding it from him. She brings out the protector and provider in him, not through weakness, but through inspiration. She carries herself in a way that shows she can handle life on her own, but she allows space for him to contribute, to lead, to support. He doesn't feel like a task or an obligation to her. He feels like a chosen part of her life. This subtle yet powerful difference makes him feel respected and valued, not for what he can give, but for who he is when he's around her. She doesn't worship him or flatter his ego unnecessarily. Instead, she respects herself enough to only engage deeply with someone who matches her energy. When a man senses that she won't sacrifice her standards just to keep him, he realizes her love has weight. She challenges him to step up without ever saying a word. Her confidence and emotional maturity reflect back on him, and it's that mirror that pushes him to grow. In her presence, he feels the desire to be more, not out of pressure, but out of inspiration. And that's when the emotional addiction begins, because growth is addictive, and when someone makes you better without asking you to change, you start craving them. What makes her unforgettable is the way she balances strength with softness. She has boundaries, but also empathy. She can say no without closing her heart. He feels her high standards, but he also feels her kindness. That emotional safety, paired with the challenge she brings, creates a unique chemistry he can't find anywhere else. And the truth is, has been. Once a man experiences that kind of energy, no drama or surface level attention ever compares again. He doesn't just want her. He wants the way he feels when he's around her. Her energy has a natural pull, apologies been, the kind that makes people feel at ease without even knowing why, has been. She doesn't enter a room needing to dominate the space or demand attention. Instead, there's a quiet warmth about her that draws people in. Her presence is steady, calm, and soothing, like a fire that burns gently rather than a storm that disrupts everything in its path. A man feels the difference instantly. He doesn't feel overwhelmed or emotionally drained. He feels recharged just by being near her, has been. There's something incredibly attractive about a woman who doesn't seek validation from the outside world. She's comfortable in her own skin, and that kind of self-assurance radiates. She doesn't try to impress with loud gestures or exaggerated charm. Instead, she has a certain ease about her, like she knows who she is and doesn't need anyone to confirm it. This inner peace is what makes her magnetic. It's rare, and when a man experiences it, it stays with him. She knows how to balance being open with being grounded. She can be light-hearted, laugh freely, and make others feel included. Yet she never loses herself in the noise. Her conversations are genuine, and her attention is intentional. When she speaks, she connects. When she listens, she really hears. Has been. That authenticity builds an emotional bond that a man can't quite explain, but he knows he feels better when she's around. It's not just attraction. It's a sense of emotional safety that few people offer. What truly makes her unforgettable is that she doesn't try to fix, change, or carry others. She allows space for people to be themselves, including him. She's not a storm of opinions or control. She's the calm in the chaos, and that calmness becomes his refuge. Over time, he finds himself missing her even when she's not trying to make an impression. Because while the world often runs loud and fast, she remains still centered and real. And that's the kind of energy a man finds himself addicted to. She's the kind of woman who keeps life interesting without even trying. There's a spark in her that's constantly shifting, evolving, surprising. One moment, she's bursting into laughter over the most random joke, and the next, she's the apology she's lost in a thoughtful conversation about something that actually matters. It's not that she's trying to be mysterious or complicated. She's simply connected to her emotions and not afraid to express the full range of who she is. That unpredictability becomes exciting because it reminds him that she's alive, not someone playing a role or following a script. He never feels like he has her fully figured out, and that keeps his attention locked in. She's not unreadable in a confusing way, but rather in a way that invites curiosity. Every day with her feels like opening a new chapter in a book he can't put down. She surprises him with her perspectives, her humor, her spontaneity, and even the way she handles challenges. That kind of variety is what keeps things fresh, and it's what makes him want to come back to her again and again. What makes her unpredictability so appealing is that it comes from a place of authenticity. She isn't trying to entertain him or keep him guessing just for fun. She's just deeply in tune with herself and never afraid to shift gears when something new moves her. She dances between light and depth effortlessly, comfortable being silly, then reflective, then playful again. That range creates emotional texture, which is something that lingers in a man's memory far longer than surface-level charm ever could. Because she isn't predictable, has been, she becomes someone he can't fully grasp. And that's what keeps him addicted. In a world where so many people operate on routines and safe patterns, she brings the unexpected in the most beautiful way. She makes him feel alive too, because being with her is never dull, never flat, never repetitive. It's an emotional ride that feels real, and in that roller coaster of laughter, insight, and spontaneity, once the apology, he realizes she's unlike anyone he's ever met. She doesn't walk through life begging for a chasing love like it's something she has to earn. Instead, apology has been. She carries herself with a quiet confidence, the kind that says she knows her value, even when no one is watching. She doesn't need to prove anything to anyone, and that self-assured energy speaks louder than any words ever could. it's not arrogance. It's certainty. She has a strong sense of who she is, and that makes her presence feel grounded and real. When a man meets a woman like this, he instantly feels the difference. She isn't seeking approval, has been, and she doesn't shape herself to fit someone else's expectations. She already knows what she brings to the table, and she's not afraid to eat alone if it means protecting her peace. That independence, inner wholeness, sends a clear messaging. She's not available to just anyone. Apology has been. Her standards aren't about playing hard to get. They're a reflection of how deeply she respects herself. What becomes truly addictive is that she doesn't just have confidence in good moments. HUSSEY, she holds it even when things don't go her way. She doesn't fall apart when someone pulls away or when things don't unfold the way she hoped. She allows herself to feel, but she doesn't crumble. That emotional strength is rare, and a man notices when a woman refuses to compromise her worth for the sake of attention or temporary affection. She doesn't chase, she attracts. And that's what makes her unforgettable. She's not waiting to be chosen, she's choosing her own path. That self-belief awakens something in a man. It makes him want to rise, to be someone worthy of standing beside her. He knows he can't take her for granted, because if he does, she'll walk, not out of bitterness, but out of integrity. And that quiet strength, that unwavering sense of self, is what keeps her living in his mind long after she's left the room. She listens in a way that most people don't. When he speaks, she isn't just waiting for her turn to talk. She's present, focused, and fully engaged in what he's saying. But more than that, she tunes into what he's not saying. She picks up on his tone, his pauses, the weight behind his words. Even in moments of silence, she notices what's happening beneath the surface. It's not just about the conversation. It's about the connection that forms when someone truly sees you. She doesn't interrupt or try to fix everything. She holds space. And in doing so, she creates a feeling of safety that is hard to find. A man may not always know how to express what he feels, but she senses it anyway. She doesn't need long speeches to understand his moods or his doubts. Sometimes it's just a look, a soft question, or the fact that she remembers the little things he said weeks ago. That kind of emotional attentiveness is rare, and it makes him feel deeply known. What makes it even more powerful is that she never uses what he shares as a weapon. She doesn't throw his vulnerabilities back at him during arguments or try to control him with guilt. Instead, she honors the trust he gives her. That trust, once felt, becomes addictive. He starts to open up more, little by little, because he knows she won't judge or dismiss him. With her, he doesn't feel like he has to perform or pretend. He can just be. In a world where most people rush to talk and rarely stop to listen, her ability to truly hear becomes unforgettable. He finds himself craving those conversations, even the quiet ones, because they feed something deeper than attraction. They feed his soul. And that's when he realizes it's not just her presence he's drawn to. It's the way she understands him in ways even he struggles to understand himself. She lives a life that genuinely excites her, with or without a relationship. Her joy isn't dependent on someone else's presence or attention. She wakes up with goals in mind, hobbies that bring her peace and dreams that fuel her. Whether it's a creative passion, a career path, or simply things she loves doing for herself, she doesn't wait for a partner to give her life meaning. Has been. This independence doesn't create distance, it creates magnetism. A man watching her live fully and freely starts to admire the richness she brings to every moment. She doesn't abandon her passions the moment she meets someone. Instead, she invites a man into her world without losing herself in his. She shows that love can be part of her life, but not the whole of it. That balance is rare. Most people either sacrifice themselves to keep someone or keep everyone at a distance to protect their freedom. She does neither. She knows how to love while still being rooted in her own identity. And that sense of completeness makes her stand out. When a man sees that she's not waiting for him to entertain her or give her purpose, it makes him feel at ease and inspired. He doesn't feel like he's being drained or pulled into a life where he has to play savior. Instead, he feels like he's joining someone already lit up from the inside. That light becomes contagious. It makes him want to rise to her level, not out of pressure, but because her passion reminds him of his own. The most attractive part is that her fulfillment doesn't come from proving anything to the world. It comes from staying true to herself. She's not busy trying to impress, she's too busy living. And in that vibrant, unapologetic life she leads, Apology has been. He finds someone who doesn't need a relationship, but can still deeply appreciate one. That's what keeps him coming back. Not because she completes him, but because she inspires him to feel more complete in himself. She has a playful spirit that feels effortless and genuine. Whether she's cracking a joke, being silly, or teasing him with a smirk, has been. It never comes across as forced. There's a natural ease in the way she expresses herself, and it invites others to let their guard down too. She doesn't perform to gain approval or act in a way she thinks will make someone like her more. Her humor, her lightness, and even her sarcasm from a place of comfort within herself. That kind of playfulness is refreshing in a world where many people try too hard to be liked. When he's around her, he feels like he can breathe. He doesn't have to put on a mask or maintain some perfect image. Her energy tells him it's okay to be human, to laugh at himself, to mess up, to relax. She doesn't judge or criticize the little things. Instead, she turns them into shared moments of laughter. That comfort she creates becomes something he craves, not just because it feels good, but because it's rare to find someone who brings out the light side of life so naturally. Apology has been. What draws him in even more is that her playfulness is balanced with sincerity. Has been. She can go from teasing him about his bad singing to listening to his serious thoughts within the same breath. Has been. He never feels like she's hiding behind humor or trying to avoid deeper emotions. Her light-hearted nature masks who she is. It reveals it. It shows that she doesn't take life too seriously, but she still takes connection seriously. That mix of fun and depth is what makes her unforgettable. In her presence, he starts to rediscover parts of himself he may have forgotten. The boy who liked to joke. The man who enjoys laughing without worrying how he looks. She becomes his safe space, not because she's always soft and serious, but because her authenticity creates trust. She doesn't try to be impressive. She simply is, apology has been. And that playful honesty is exactly what makes him feel at home with her. She carries a deep sense of self-respect that isn't just spoken through words, it's shown through her actions. She has clear boundaries that aren't meant to control others, but to protect her peace and emotional well-being. If someone crosses those lines, she doesn't explode or beg for change. She simply steps back. Not because she's cold, but because she knows her value doesn't decrease based on how others treat her. That quiet strength speaks volumes, and it leaves a lasting impression on anyone who tries to test her limits. When a man realizes that she's willing to walk away rather than accept less than she deserves, it shifts something inside him. He begins to see that she's not interested in being half loved, and that her presence in his life is not guaranteed. It must be earned and maintained through respect. She doesn't punish or manipulate. She simply holds her standard, even if it hurts. That level of emotional maturity is powerful, and it often catches people off guard because it's so uncommon. There's nothing dramatic about the way she handles disrespect. She doesn't raise her voice or cause a scene. Her silence, her absence, and her refusal to lower her worth speak louder than any argument ever could. It's in those moments that a man starts to understand that she was never trying to win him over. She was simply being herself, Ben, and now that she's no longer accessible, he starts to feel the weight of what he's lost. That loss lingers because it came from someone who was deeply real. The truth is, self-respect is magnetic. It draws in those who are ready and repels those who are not. And when a man sees that she chooses her peace over his approval, it stirs something deeper than attraction. It becomes obsession. Not because she played games, but because she didn't. Her loyalty to herself is what makes her unforgettable. She's not looking to be everything for someone else. She's committed to being everything for herself first. And that's what keeps her on his mind long after she's gone. She brings a calmness into his life that he didn't even know he needed. When the world feels loud, demanding, and full of pressure, she feels like a pause, a moment of stillness where he can just be. She doesn't thrive on drama or conflict. In fact, she avoids unnecessary chaos, not because she's afraid of confrontation, but because she values peace. Her presence feels stable, like emotional safety wrapped in softness, and that becomes something he instinctively clings to without even realizing it. She knows how to communicate in a way that doesn't tear people down. Even when she's hurt or frustrated, she chooses words that reflect understanding rather than accusation. She expresses how she feels without making others feel small. That level of emotional intelligence is disarming. It doesn't mean she avoids conflict. It means she handles it in a way that leaves room for healing, not destruction. And that makes a man feel seen and respected, even when he's at his worst. She never uses guilt or silence as a weapon. She doesn't manipulate situations just to test someone's loyalty. Her love doesn't come with hidden rules or emotional traps. Instead, it's honest and open, built on trust. That kind of emotional clarity is rare, and it gives a man permission to let his guard down. When he's with her, he doesn't feel like he's in a constant battle to earn affection. He feels accepted. And in that acceptance, he finds the freedom to be real. The peace she brings is not just something he enjoys. It's something he starts to depend on. After spending time in her energy, everything else feels noisy. He doesn't miss chaos or unpredictable moods. He misses her grounded presence, her softness, and the way she makes hard moments feel less heavy. And once a man experiences that kind of peace, it's hard to forget. He'll chase it long after she's gone, because she gave him something the world rarely offers: emotional safety without conditions. She isn't afraid to give space. She understands that constantly being present isn't what builds desire. It's in the moments of absence that true appreciation grows. She doesn't feel the need to always check in, to constantly remind him of her presence. Instead, she allows the silence to do its work. In that space, he starts to reflect. He notices how calm he felt around her, how conversations with her lingered in his mind longer than expected, how life felt lighter when she was part of it. Has been. She doesn't play games by disappearing to create mystery, but she also doesn't cling. Her confidence in the connection allows her to step back and let things breathe. That trust in the bond creates freedom, and freedom creates longing. When a man is given that space, he begins to feel the absence not as distance, but as a subtle ache that reminds him of what he misses. He starts to remember her laugh, the way she made him feel understood, the way her energy shifted the atmosphere around him. This quiet withdrawal makes her unforgettable, not because she's hard to reach, but because she never forces herself to be remembered. Her absence speaks louder than most people's presence, and that's what makes it powerful. A man starts to crave the simplicity she brought into his life, the ease of being around her, the emotional safety that felt rare. Her willingness to step back shows that she doesn't fear being forgotten. She knows her presence left a mark, and she's not desperate to keep proving it. The truth is, people remember how you made them feel, especially when you're no longer around. And when she's gone, he begins to feel the gap. It's not filled by just anyone, because not everyone carries the same grace, the same self-assurance, the same depth. She doesn't just disappear. She leaves behind a quiet echo that keeps playing in his mind. And that's when he realizes she never tried to make him chase her, but by being herself and allowing space, she made him want to.